for Kipchumba Murkomen to make such a statement is, to say the least, ill-advised, misguided, and immature. He does not deserve the office he's holding. I will join Senator Gerard Gay to say Kipchumba Murkomen is a disgrace to the current president. Remember when he was in the Ministry of Transport, he brought the issue of Adani, which eventually became some kind of failure. Now he's telling us about the issues of attempted coup, which is not there at all. I don't think, and I've said before, I don't wish that President Ruto leaves office today. I want him to meet the electorate of the Republic of Kenya. And if he doesn't win, then we will witness a government that will take over doing a job that he ought to have done for the last 3 years. So these are issues that when he says we don't have an agenda, he is misguided. Our agenda is to remove him. And once he's not there, then we allow systems to operate. Whether it's the police, whether it's judiciary, whether it's parliament, whether it's the executive itself, they must operate according to the law, according to the constitution. It is not for the government to blame the young people. It's for the government to ask themselves or itself, what is it that we can do for Kenyans to listen to us? And the only thing is they communicate. And when we tell them there's something wrong, they should say we've had, we are trying, we are limited by 1, 2, 3. Today, if the president was to say, I made all these promises, but I realized, given the resources, the circumstances, and the time left between now and the next election, I'm scaling down from 10 to about 4, and I will deliver on the 4. Kenyans will forgive him. But the problem is in denial. He doesn't believe that he has made any mistake. And when you run into denial, it will take you a lot of time to get out of that position. And it may be too late for him to make any decision that is in tandem with the thinking of Kenyans.
Kirwa is the betrayer of the Kalenjin community.
If they say so, I've done it before, and later on they realize I was right, they were wrong.
You did it with Moi.
And I have done it, and I decided to join Kibaki. And later on they joined Kibaki, and they wanted to make themselves look like they're better than us. You know, at times some of these fellows, we see through them. We see their lies. We see through the way they lie through their teeth. You've seen the clip that is doing the rounds of President William Ruto when he was MP for Eldoret North, saying the opposite of what he's doing now.
I am so glad to have you on Richard Mwenja exclusive. The month is June, the year of our Lord 2025, just a few days after a nationwide protest staged by the Gen Z calling for change in this country, calling for better fortunes their way. That is our conversation today. We're going to unpack what happened this week, more particularly on Wednesday. But first thing first, allow me to introduce the gentleman who's going to help me bring the day's conversation home. He's a man of many fasts. You know him. He served this nation in many capacities. Prime of it as Agriculture Minister during Kibaki 1 tenure. Former MP for Cherangani constituency, Kipruto Arab Kura. Waziri, great to see you.
It's my pleasure too. Yes, welcome.
Where were you? I was looking for you on Wednesday on the screens. You were missing in the streets.
No, I had gone up country to deal with 1 or 2 issues. Then I was to fly back yesterday afternoon, only to realize that there were so many people flying back from Eldoret. So I had to spend the night there. And I'm here now.
Nerimo Wako told me earlier today that we saw people the age of Waziri pour to the streets.
Yes.
Wukas.
Yes.
Why was Waziri missing the picture? I should have done that from Kitale or Cherangani.
Well, I've learned. We keep on learning every day. That's lesson learned. Next year, same time.
Time?
Yes, I should be part of those in the street. Because there's nothing as good as participating personally on the situation instead of making analysis of a situation that has already passed. Yeah.
Well, Waziri, on June 25th this year, we saw young Kenyans pour to the streets. All they were saying is, listen to us. This is what we want, so that we have a better future and even a better present as the young citizens of this country, whom we are going to bequeath this country to. But they were met with bullets. They were met with police brutality. Some were actually raped. I'm talking about women. As a senior citizen and as a parent, What's your assessment on how the police and the government handled, by and large, peaceful protesters?
Well, I had told them on Monday that it would have been better if all these young people were escorted and they were given the respect they deserve. They are not asking for too much. Even when they say Ruto must go, they know the defining moment is the next general election, where Kenyans will make their decision on who is going to be our chief executive for another 5 years. I saw some semblance of hope in Mombasa, where there was a gentleman donning the Muslim regalia,
Sure.
with normal complete as an imam, like an imam. And he was leading them, and I could see that was peaceful. And there was also a lady that I suspected she could have also been somebody from security forces. And you realized that Mombasa was relatively good, unless something else happened later. So it is important for those in power today to realize that people react on the kind of force, violence and hostility you meet on them. Otherwise, Kenyans are peaceful people, and when they are making those demands, one clear picture was nothing has changed since last year. You would have expected the display of opulence to calm down. You would have expected a lean budget, less expenditure on even State House, where this time round, I'm told the State House is getting 800 million.
890 million.
890 million.
An active construction site.
Yes. I don't know where the president operates from, because I have not been there since he took over. Otherwise, it's a dangerous situation that he's become like the supervisor of the project.
Foreman?
Yeah, he's a foreman, effectively, because what else can you say? You cannot keep on repairing State House 3 years down the road, and what legacy does he want to leave us? That State House has been that way for many years, and it was something that we should have had national competition of architects, designers, and even those who will be doing the murals and interior design, so that we say this is now authentic Kenya. But the kind of situation that you see today in State House, you don't know whether it is a building in the desert or a building somewhere in North Africa or in the Arab world. I don't know who the architect is. We could have, that would have been a national celebration, that there are these models about the facelift of State House, and this is what we want. But now we are spending more money on repairs that we don't know why. And of course, spending also more money on bringing reservoir around State House, which means the current occupant of State House is scared stiff of his own citizens. And it is unfortunate, to say the least.
A government that fears its own people.
That's the problem, which means they are guilty of something. You see, if I was to fear you or fear my children, it means there is something I've done that is not in tandem with the expectations of my children.
Waziri, let's backpedal a little bit. You've mentioned about this government not proving that it's making deliberate attempts to address the woes and the cries of the concern that they raised last year. Someone would wonder, even with the broad-based government, which they assume was supposed to midwife the process and present the concerns of the Gen Z, would you say it has done little this far?
Nothing at all, because you see, when they say this budget is more friendly to the people, there are so many hidden issues that in the fullness of time, the people will realize that this is a very expensive budget to the ordinary people. You see, economic growth is a product of the effort of each individual collectively put within a certain period. Now, they are saying they have added jobs, but they are not telling us the jobs that they have lost by companies downsizing, some relocating to the rest of East Africa, or even some of them closing down completely. These are some of the problems that if they were really listening to the people, and they were listening even to their advisors, they would be able to sort of reverse the current trend where it is only expenditure in projects that are not so important. The status that we have has been occupied by, I think, 4 presidents, with some little changes here and there, some alteration of some rooms modernization of some basic facilities. But this is a makeover of State House, which is not a priority, to say the least. Yeah.
You've mentioned about we are at a place as a country whereby we are witnessing capital flight, thanks to what you're saying, Ruto's misrule, not really taking concern with where Kenya's economy is going.
Yeah.
United Nations Regional Office in Nairobi has issued a statement and saying what was there on Wednesday was extreme violation of human rights and not granting people the right to expression. We are looking at a case of Kenyans wanting UN to be permanently present in Kenya as its headquarters. If this is going to be the trend, as a seasoned diplomat, do you see UN even relocating, all thanks to the mess we are getting ourselves in?
They may not necessarily relocate, but they will downsize the kind of staff that will be here in Kenya. And you see, for every employer or for every employee of the UN or any of the missions from other countries, it is an additional opportunity for Kenya to make business. Because when you are here, you consume the food that we produce, you consume the products that we produce, and you are part of this economic space. So that when you are talking of GDP, it is goods and services of all the individuals within that particular economy in 1 year. And this therefore means if we lose any of the staff because of either security consideration or lack of appropriateness in terms of communication, that means we are losing a proportion of the economic cake that we ought to be baking here in Kenya and allowing Kenyans to enjoy those facilities.
Rightly put. Was it right after the June 25th protest, we saw Interior CS Kipchumba Murkomen issue a number of statements and pronunciations regarding what happened and who to blame. But one statement he made is that what we witnessed on Wednesday was an attempted coup. This was not dissent, rather it was people wanting to take this country into anarchy and acts of terrorism. Gen Zs have been labeled many things. It started with digital wankers to faceless anarchists. Now they've been labeled terrorists. How do you render this judgment from Kipchumba Murkomen regarding what happened in this country this week?
One, it is unfortunate for a leader of this stature to make such hollow allegations that there was an attempted coup. When people were in the street with handkerchiefs, water, and mobile phones, is that an attempted coup? They did not even talk about removing the president through violence. What they were saying, they are expressing the issues that are afflicting them. And for Kipchumba Murkomen to make such a statement is, to say the least, ill-advised, misguided, and immature. He does not deserve the office he's holding. I will join Senator Gerard Gay to say Kipchumba Murkomen is a disgrace to the current president. Remember when he was in the Ministry of Transport, he brought the issue of Adani, which eventually became some kind of failure. Now he's telling us about the issues of attempted coup, which is not there at all. I don't think, and I've said before, I don't wish that President Ruto leaves office today. I want him to meet the electorate of the Republic of Kenya. And if he doesn't win, then he will witness a government that will take over doing a job that he ought to have done for the last 3 years.
That is your prayer?
That is my prayer. I don't want him to leave town. I want him to be around for as long as possible to see other people leading this country better and managing the affairs of Kenya without inflicting pain on the people of Kenya and using personal interest as the prime motive for making certain decisions. You see, we know some of the transactions that have been taking place, they have been guided to 1 or 2 banks. And some of the banks that are doing those transactions, he has some interest. This therefore means he's not doing it for Kenya. He's doing it because he wants to support his own network. When it comes to affordable housing, who is the contractor? Where does he get the materials? Who does the insurance? Who is the final beneficiary? When the land is public, the money comes from Kenyans, or literally being snatched away from them, and they don't have direct benefit to affordable housing. Then you bring a miserable lady and you say now she has benefited, and therefore all the mamambogas of Kenya will get that kind of scheme. Why do you run a scheme parallel to National Housing Corporation? which is the one that did a lot of housing schemes in the past. Why did you have to start affordable housing fund when that fund could have been channeled through national housing corporations, and we improve the infrastructure of national housing corporation if it is not delivering as it ought to deliver? Everything he has been doing is to create another scheme and scam for purposes of benefiting himself or his cronies.
All this budgeted corruption?
Yes. NHIF. What was the problem with NHIF? That now the so-called shisha is giving us. We could have restructured NHIF with 70 million. The system would have been upgraded. Now we ended up talking of 104 billion instead of 70 million for upgrading. So these are issues that when he says we don't have an agenda, he is misguided. Our agenda is to remove him. And once he's not there, then we allow systems to operate. Whether it's the police, whether it's judiciary, whether it's parliament, whether it's the executive itself, they must operate according to the law, according to the constitution.
Waziri, you've traversed this continent during your tenure serving as Kenya's foreign envoy out here. And now we are looking at a case whereby the international community is increasingly getting grasp of what's happening in Kenya. Extreme violation of human rights when it comes to expressing their voices and their concerns. Now there are accusations of Kenya engaging in in arms dealing with rebel group from Sudan, RSF. Yeah. Kenya's position in Congo war or even in the Haiti mission. What is our outlook out here as a nation, and what risk do we run getting into?
Diplomatically, we have failed because you do not rub your neighbors the wrong way, and that's why Raila failed to clean the seat at the AU Commission, because the position of Kenya is that it is seen to be interfering literally with every diplomatic engagement, whether it is in Sahrawi, whether it's in Somalia, where they were appointing Ambassador to Hargeisa against the understood protocol, whether it is in DRC, whether it is in the Sudan, whether it is in the South Sudan, whether it is Israel and Gaza. All these are diplomatic goofs that the president should have been advised in good time for him not to make the mistakes he has been making for the last 3 years. But who am I? Because, as you know, advice is as good as the recipient, not the provider of advice. And President Ruto, the way I understand him, is that the advisors is advisors on what message to pass to him and to make that the official position in terms of the government decision-making process. Otherwise, in leadership, whether it's that of Jomo Kenyatta, that of Kibaki, it was understood that when you are given a job, you are given the leeway and the latitude of freedom to think freely and ensure that the answers that you give to the establishment are taken to be answers well considered, using the technical team in your ministry and using advice from other quarters so as to make it appear the government is operating according to the script. But nowadays, you hear one issue today, tomorrow they are doing the opposite of what they said. So that's why this government has run a lot of trust deficit to the extent that whatever they say, nobody trusts them.
Do they stand a chance to do damage control?
Well, if they listen, if they listen to themselves first and also to the people of Kenya, because why themselves? Because what they are saying, they don't seem to hear what they have already said. Because you cannot say one thing today and another thing tomorrow. Why the people of Kenya? The people of Kenya are telling them, we have a problem about corruption. We have a problem about education. We have a problem about health. But they keep on announcing that we've done very well in SHA, when there are so many cases of people saying the systems were down. I had to look for 10,000, 20,000 to pay a bill that could have been settled through the health care system.
Waziri, you've been right at the center of several waves of changes we've seen in this country. The wave of change that heralded a Rainbow Coalition, you are right at the center of it. Now we are seeing this new wave of change, Gen Z calling for a better country. But I want to understand something. To what do you owe the rage that made some of these protesters go to the extent of even touching down a police station?
It is because they, they say for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. What the GNCs and those who are not happy is because of the way they were treated. Even I was told there was a case of some children in a family when the system of one of the stations was plucked off the radar. They took revenge on the television set belonging to their parents because they would not understand why is all this. Because when somebody is unhappy, there is what we call displacement reaction, which means even something that sounds abnormal does happen when somebody is properly outraged. So it is not for the government to blame the young people. It's for the government to ask themselves or itself, what is it that we can do for Kenyans to listen to us? And the only thing is they communicate. And when we tell them there's something wrong, they should say we've had, we are trying, we are limited by 1, 2, 3. Today, if the president was to say, I made all these promises, but I realized, given the resources, the circumstances, and the time left between now and the next election, I'm scaling down from 10 to about 4, and I will deliver on the 4. Kenyans will forgive him. But the problem is in denial. He doesn't believe that he has made any mistake. And when you run into denial, it will take you a lot of time to get out of that position. And it may be too late for him to make any decision that is in tandem with the thinking of Kenyans.
Is this denial that you're talking about what informs the blame that has been put squarely at the doorstep of Gachagua, that you are the person financing this protest, you are the person ferrying youths to Nairobi, you are the person cheering and mobilizing these numbers on the streets to get this government out of power?
Was Gachagua in Eldoret? It happened in Eldoret. It happened in many other towns. It happened in Mombasa. Was he able to carry people from Murang'a or Nyeri all the way to Mombasa? What they should realize that Kenyans are not happy. And if you are to check those who are using artificial intelligence in the system, the what do you call it? Social media.
Yeah.
Millions of people are not happy. And those people could not have been ferried by the Honorable Gachagua. You are making him look like he's the alternative government. Yeah, effectively. To say that he was able to carry more people and the government was not able to witness those people in good time, you are telling us that Gachagua has taken over. Yeah. You are admitting that actually Gachagua is running the show. You took away Raila, you thought Gachagua or others will not be able to mobilize. You can see you are with Raila.
Yeah.
Raila is unable to do anything except to say I'm with the GNCs.
Even in coastal area, there were demonstrations, despite them being there on that day.
Yeah, they ran away to, was it a funeral?
Yeah.
Yeah, a funeral of somebody.
Gideon Mungaro, the father?
Yeah, Gideon's father. But still, the coast was full of demonstrators. So, as I said, it was relatively calm because the police did not fight them. Yeah.
What danger lies in a government that anytime it goes into a mistake, it is quick to find an scapegoat, someone to blame, this culture of dodging responsibility? What awaits such a government in the fullness of time?
Well, they'll be shown the door. And they will realize when it is too late. To fail to clinch a seat is a product of events that take place between one election and the other. We've seen people who win with majority. I remember there was the late Kamwithi Munyi. In one election he got 29,000 votes. In the next election he got 3,000 votes.
A paltry 3,000 votes?
Yes, in between just 5 years. Actually the highest number of votes nationally. In the next election he had 3,000 votes. Almost akin to an MCA position. So it happens. So I don't know, I'm not a prophet, but I think this regime may find itself on the receiving end in the next 2 years.
History, Waziri, has borne us witness of the countless times the people have stormed State House or they have gone back to take back their power, ejecting serving presidents. It has happened in Africa. And there are other cases, talk of Gabon and few other countries. Would you say that if we are not careful, these Kenyans might not even want to get to 2027 if this is going to be the culture?
Well, my prayer is different I would wish we had a bit of patience so that we allow smooth transition. I remember in West Africa, one of the presidents was told by the wife, the situation is so dire that you will be embarrassing the family by you running. I hope our president will be told at the right time and will believe the story that the situation is so bad that from 7 million votes that you got in the last election, you will be lucky to get 3 million votes in the next election. And I hope he will respond by saying, I'm not running. And somebody else can come in. And we'll have a chance to fight another time when the situation is settled. Otherwise, the outrage that is being displayed by Kenyans, that outrage, if it is taken with the ballot, it will be almost an avalanche of voting against him. Yeah.
Half the time, Waziri, you've always argued that the tragedy we're in as a country is that elected members of parliament have betrayed the electorate. They are no longer their voices of reason.
Yeah.
And do you owe that to the fact that as a country we've made politics so lucrative that people really go there for primitive accumulation of wealth and not entirely or really to serve the people in the first place?
Well, the main problem is that there is some kind of conflict between the role of a member of parliament and the role of chief executive of a constituency about the implementation of projects such as the NGCDF. Personally, I've been of a different school, that resources to any constituency should be determined that so much will go to Cherangani, perhaps 200 million per year. But that money should not be dispensed by the member of parliament. There should be a committee separate and independent of the sitting member of parliament. But the member of parliament remains somebody to do the oversight of those resources and also to make sure that he is part of the team that will be generating the priorities for that constituency all the way from sub-location by informing the public, allowing the public to participate, and also allowing those resources to be utilized as they ought to be. The second issue is that members of parliament, even with those wastage of resources at the constituency, don't have enough money. Because when somebody goes there, is given a loan of about 40 million to be paid within 55 months. Because as you go for the next election, you ought to have cleared the bills or the debts of the previous term. And that, if you, by just doing some calculations, you ought to be paying over 700,000 every month for you to get to that level of clearing the 40 million. Of course, the interest rate is small, but still, that is a huge amount of money. So a member of parliament becomes now a beggar. So he's oscillating between parliament, CDF, and the State House. So that State House will cushion him from time to time to ensure that he is able to keep afloat.
And the same State House is giving development.
Well, we should not be going to State House for development. Development should be done by the members of parliament through their budgetary provisions, which is done usually in build up to the budget reading in June. So issues of going to State House to get development is unconstitutional and is also a lie that people want. I saw the Honorable Orengo the other day with a delegation from Siaya, and I said, well, the Jim Orengo that I knew, unless he has been forced by Baba to make sure that he pays homage to the current occupant of State House, it is not supposed to be governor goes to beg for a special consideration from State House. Because State House is nowhere where the budget is done. The budget is done through the normal process in Parliament, in tandem with judiciary, treasury, and other institutions that are responsible for that process. Yeah.
You've made a clarion call to this government that it's time they listen to the pleas of these Gen Zs and Kenyans at large. Right after the June 2024 protest, we saw the government made an attempt to have a conversation with the Gen Zs. You saw town hall meetings, which Kirwa said those were manufactured town hall meetings. Twitter X Spaces conversations, you say all those were not natural. And they were not really to serve the purpose they were intended to in the first place. So this time round, if you want the government to pull a chair at the table for the Gen Z, where does that journey begin with, and what should be that first point of call for them?
You know, instead even of calling those young men and women to those town hall meetings, do the simple things they have said. Reduce corruption. Let the budget be realistic. Don't be taking away money from us that does not belong to you, like the housing levy. And when you take it, make sure that it does the right thing. Don't be taking housing levy, then you invest again in treasury bills. And some amount, you give it to some kind of road construction when it's supposed to be for housing. Well, it may be long term, but long term is supposed to be on the surplus that you get from your business. Even normal business model, you don't take money that you've just gotten from a loan from the bank and you go and say you are doing it for long-term investment. Your business model will collapse. That is what this regime is trying to do. Yeah.
Waziri, you've uploaded the clergymen who showed up for the demonstrations, who stood with the people, prayed for the people on the streets. I'm talking about people like Reverend Tony Kiama. He was there, right outside Nation Center, praying for the protesters, joining them in the protest. You've talked about a situation in Mombasa.
Yes.
And some would wonder, are we now going back to the times of Bishop Okulu, Ndiki Mwanawanzeki? The church is retracing its steps in being the conscience of the state.
Yeah, the church is the conscience of the world because these are people who deal with issues of morals and integrity. And therefore, they are playing the right role. And what we need to do is to see more of them taking position so that they call to account those who are already in power. Because simply not because it is the current regime, even if we are to take over power, we need to be getting that voice of reason telling us, yes, you are doing well, but you could have done better by doing 1, 2, 3. That's the way it should be. Yeah.
What is the impact that is being made out here when you see now clergymen donning their attires on the streets? Initially, we would only see them on television or doing press releases. But this time round, if they join the people on the streets, how lethal is that sort of image to the government of today?
Yeah, you remember the late Marcos, the president of Philippines. He was removed by the church. The Catholic Church, the nuns came out in the streets, and when the askaris or the military came, they took flowers and they were putting on the tank, on the military tanks. And it was such a revolution that Ferdinand Marcos realized he had no position in Philippines. If the president does not realize that, in future, even the policemen, the military people, will not side with him.
The police force?
The police force, the military. If 1 million people were to get around State House, even he himself will not be comfortable. I don't know how he came back from Cliffy, whether he went to Sugoi or he came to State House.
But now they are...
What means did he use? Was it an helicopter? Or could he have driven all the way and feeling secure? So some of these things, and they need to be reminded. That was covered by the Weekly Review and Time Magazine. Nuns giving flowers to the military, that we are not interested in war. These are the flowers we are giving you. And you could see some military people crying. You saw that policeman on Wednesday saying, I wish something could be done for these politicians to understand that the country is not going in the right direction. So many of those people will be awakened.
And they'll say enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
No order from Eliud Lagat. We're not going to heed to it.
Eliud, I thought he stepped aside. And when somebody steps aside, he removes himself from the office. I don't know. If he's still in town, I would rather advise him that he's destroying his own reputation. And he's making Kenyans who are about to forgive him that, okay, he has stepped aside, to get enraged and to say, yes, he must have given orders for the young man to be done what was done to him, Albert Ojwang. Yeah.
Talking about orders, we now have a new directive from CS Kipchumba Murkomen. Anyone attempting to storm a police station, shoot them on sight, shoot to kill orders. And you'd wonder, how are you going to judge this as Waziri Kiru, as a senior citizen, as a leader in this country?
Well, he was given instant answer by the crowd around him that particular day. Kipchumba Murkomen is quick to say the wrong things. And that was one of the things that even if he had those intentions, as a minister, you just don't give impromptu order. You are supposed to go through the process, get advice from the security agencies on the kind of decision to be taken. But you just don't, at the spur of the moment, say this is going to be done.
Bunduki si mandazi.
Yeah, na mtu akienda ameenda. Yeah, because when you kill one person, you should be ashamed. Unless you do the biblical thing. Was it Isaac who was supposed to be sacrificed? Then God provided an alternative to that.
True.
Any child that is killed, think about the child you love.
Think about the child
you love. Don't imagine that this is just a physical object that was just roaming in the street. Whether it's the girl who was trying to jump the fence, whether it's the older man who was part of the GNC team.
Musa.
Yeah, is it called Musa?
We've labeled him Musa. He was with a walking stick.
Yes.
Like how Moses led the Israelites.
Yes. Yeah, next year I will join him.
With a walking stick of your own?
Yeah, the normal pakora. Yeah, not to fight anybody.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not to fight anybody, but to be part of that solidarity. Yeah.
What message was being passed out here when you saw Gen Zs climb the statue of Dedan Kimathi, talking to him on the ears, making such a gesture?
Yeah.
What do you think was the message for the government and for us all?
It was a very clear message that the freedom that you fought for has not come to us, because the Mzungu that left a black Mzungu who is now doing worse than the Mzungu, because the Mzungu was killing Africans and our own Africans are killing us. So it's better I get killed by the Mzungu than get killed by my own brother. Because really, what are you telling us? Was it worth fighting for independence? If today you are trying to impose yourself on us and to say, okay, we are going to defend somebody because he's one of our own? No, defend me because I'm standing on the right position. I'm doing the right thing for Kenya. But if you are doing the wrong thing and we expect, because you share common vernacular language, that I'm going to defend you, the answer is no. I'll be the last person to accept somebody just because we talk the same vernacular.
Kirwa is the betrayer of the Kalenjin community.
If they say so, I've done it before, and later on they realize I was right, they were wrong.
You did it with Moi.
And I have done it, and I decided to join Kibaki. And later on they joined Kibaki, and they wanted to make themselves look like they're better than us. You know, at times some of these fellows, we see through them. We see their lies. We see through the way they lie through their teeth. You've seen the clip that is doing the rounds of President William Ruto when he was MP for Eldoret North, saying the opposite of what he's doing now.
Speaking from both ends of his mouth.
Of his mouth. And he had enough supporters at that time to say he was right. Today is doing what he feared was being done by that regime. And he still has enough supporters who have forgotten what he was saying. And the fact that he's doing exactly what he was against at that time. Leave it to them.
Leave it to them?
Yeah.
Your friend, politician and businessman Buzeki, Zedekia Bundotich, argues, this government is trying so hard to read from the KANU governance books, and they are reading an old script which cannot really play good in this revolution that we are seeing, or in the present day Kenya. Do you think the president is really reading from KANU books, and will he succeed with it, taming dissenting voices, trying to get power and cling to it to the end of time?
You know, every leadership is situational and it depends on circumstances. Remember, the constitution that is dealing with is a robust constitution that provides for freedom of association, freedom of speech, freedom of thinking, while the old constitution was restricting some of those freedoms. So is even doing worse than KANU, because KANU was operating under a constitution that would allow the president or the minister in charge of interior to sign a letter that takes somebody to detention without trial. Today you cannot do that. Today you cannot just restrict somebody in some kind of funny custody beyond a certain limit of the constitution. You have to produce somebody in court. So he's reading some old notes in a new situation and those notes are totally irrelevant. They are likely to take him deeper into the mess and into the embarrassment than it was done for Kanu at that particular time. Yeah.
Waziri, we are witnessing a case of your children, your grandchildren really coming out with bigger courage. The chapters of this time, Wanjiru, Wambui. You've seen those on the streets, women taking the front row seat. As a father, what is your reservation about the girl child of Kenya today when it comes to fighting for the change they believe in?
You know, even the old people, whether it is Dedan Kimathi, they were in their 20s. Whether it is Harithuku, he could have been in his 30s. And many of the people who fought for this country were people the current age of Gen Zs in Kenya today. And they are playing their rightful role. This is their country. Those of us who are above 60, we are less than 3%, or we are about 3%. So over 90-something% are people below 60, including majority of them. So they are doing the right thing for their own country. They are doing the right thing for themselves because their future is more challenging than our future was. During our time, at the end of Form 4, before even you go to Form 6, there is a letter waiting for you. And in some cases, as you finish the exam, there is a Land Rover waiting for you to be taken, to be recruited as a DO. Later on at Form 6, you could get a letter to go and become a manager somewhere.
Without a degree?
Without a degree.
A master's?
Not even diploma. And at some stage, after university, you have a job, you have an office, and you have some modest income that allows you to have a house in Buruburu that you either pay for, and eventually you can buy the same house for about 39,000 shillings.
There was hope.
There was hope. Yeah. Once you just pass certain level, today you have people with master's degrees. They are at home.
In their thousands.
In their thousands, and they do not know where to go next. So the Gen Zs are saying, give us space. Because, you know, I want to share with Kenyans, Richard.
Sure.
That is not the big corporations that employ people. It's the small businesses employing 100 people, 200 people, 50 people. And those are the businesses the government should be able to promote. But now you are overtaxing them out of the market. You are making them totally obliterated from the market. So you are taking away jobs from young people.
The same hustlers you rode to power on their backs?
Yeah. They are now the people receiving the wrong side of the stick. Yeah.
Mama
Mboga, the wheelbarrow guy.
Na mtu wa pikipiki.
Yeah, the boda fellow. All those guys are seeing now what the wheelbarrow can do. Because, you know, wheelbarrow does not move on its own.
A wheelbarrow can take you into a perilous journey of financial distress and even bigger doom.
Completely. And at times it may overturn and lock you in or cover you completely. So that's what I'm worried about.
Now I understand why you bolted out at the 11th hour. You had seen signs of this coming. I
had seen, because you see, as we were going towards the tail end, you could see somebody was becoming increasingly allergic to advice. So I said, if you can't advise somebody, why should I waste my time? Yeah, at my age, I should not be wasting my time. I should be relaxing, or I should be doing things I enjoy doing. And this is why I'm with you here. I enjoy doing this. At times, some of them, they talk about it. Oh, Kirwa is like this. Yeah. I like it even when they get annoyed. I'm happy because I'm making them see sense.
Some say Kirwa is making this young guy hate his country.
No, you will not hate your country. You will hate some individuals. And when you hate individuals, they are not synonymous with Kenya. Yeah.
You've not answered my question, Waziri. Yeah. Give me closure on that. You are father to many daughters out here.
Yes.
And we can agree on this. During your time, even during the 202 wave of change,
yes,
the men were more than women, clearly. But you look today at the frontliners of the demonstrations, you can talk of Nerima Wako, Hanifa, and thousands others. How do you feel as a father to daughters? I'm
very proud. You see, you've been talking of the girl child that needs support. The support now is to be empowered in the things they are doing. Today, I'm more worried about the boy child. And times when I look at you, I get worried.
Where is Richard?
Where is Richard? Is he empowered anymore? he has been disempowered. This is a sign that our society has succeeded in empowering the girl child. And we need to do more of that. Yeah. They have their role to play. You go to some countries like Sweden and other countries of the Nordic, there are more female engineers than male engineers, which means any child empowered can scale the ladder to the highest point. Yeah.
Do you have one or two of those women figures you wish to give your flowers to today? All thanks to the courage they showed on Wednesday.
Well, I have so many of them, like Nerima Wako. She is one of them, and there is the Wanjira. Wanjira, you remember the one who was saying, it doesn't, you don't have to you know, that even fools grow old. You know, that was the most interesting thing.
That touched a nerve.
Yeah, even fools grow old. So by the fact that you are old does not mean that you are wiser. So there are some people who are 60, who are 70, and they are less wise than people in their 30s. So you cannot say because you've seen so many things you become wise. You might have seen and forgotten because there are people with amnesia. They forget as soon as they learn a new thing. Yeah, you remember in Animal Farm, there was an animal, was it Molly, that learns ABCD. Then when they get to EFG, he forgets the initial whatever. This is what is happening to some leaders.
2 steps the front, 6 back.
Yeah, and they forget whatever they had learned previously.
Even with a PhD on board?
Well, PhD is just a piece of paper. You must also show that PhD is grounded on reality. And PhD should actually give somebody utility.
Be it honorary or
yeah, but honorary should be given with a bit of achievement. You cannot give PhD to people like Sudi. What has he achieved in engineering?
Fantastic businessman.
Okay.
They argue that.
But they say it's engineering. In which engineering? Unless engineering falsehoods.
Finally, in the interest of time, Waziri, let's talk about the politics of the united opposition, or what they call the People's Loyal Opposition, led by Rigathi Gachagua, Kalonzo Musyoka, one in which you are domiciled in, right at the center of it.
Yeah.
And we've heard of attempts to court Kalonzo Musyoka from even DP Kithure Kindiki, members allied to Kenya Kwanza, talking openly about it. And I wonder, do you think Kalonzo is gonna really give in to this courting being advanced to him by the government?
Actually, even in the first place, for them to talk about it that way, it's an insult. Because I know better than many of them. Kalonzo has not been approached by any of those people. They are talking in the public domain for purposes of sending the wrong signals to us, so that we start suspecting each other. Otherwise, the truth is, Kalonzo that I know is not somebody to be talked about the next general election. He's willing to sacrifice anything for us to be able to take this government home.
Your friend Sudi argues, in the right time, we shall buy your Kalonzo. Remember, also George Kaluma a while back said, do you think Matiang'i or Kalonzo can reject upwards of 1 billion Kenya shillings? Just how transactional is the nature of Kenyan politics, and do you think they're going to succumb to it?
Well, at times money has no meaning. How much money do you need, Richard? You know, the money I need and the money you need, it depends on your mind. So there is no money that is enough to buy anybody who is not willing to be bought. And if you are willing to be bought, you will be brought down until when you are given 2 million shillings, you are already bought. Because that could be the bait. Because you know, bait is not supposed to be food to feed you until you are full. Bait is meant to encourage you to get into a trap. So this issue of talking about money, I don't know how much money is enough. President Moi had more money than all these other people put together. And we took a position that we could disagree with him respectively. This time round, our team is totally united. Yeah.
So for Raila Odinga, are you talking about now him being that person who succumbed to the bait that is money and the transactional kind of politics?
Well, I don't know. I don't want to blame him because I have not been to 80. I'm about 12 years away from 80. When I get there, I will be able to reflect on what Raila is thinking about. Possibly he's tired of people that he has been struggling to make them better, and they don't seem to change. I don't know. Yeah, let me give him the benefit of doubt. Yeah, because he's 12 years my senior.
All right, there you have it. That point by former Minister Kipruto Arap Kira takes us to the wrap of our today's conversation, discussing a raft of issues in the world of politics and governance. Top of it, being the events of June 25th, the year of our Lord 2025, where the youthful segment of the Kenyan population took to the streets, calling for accountability, responsibility from the government of today, and for better changes that's going to empower them in the fullness of time. Waziri, we want to understand who is our hero, our Shujaa for this particular week.
The GNCs of Kenya and the GNCs of the world. People who seem at their formative stages of their life to realize what is right and to articulate so clearly as to give us, those of us who've been in town, a new reflection, a new thinking that yes, they are young, but they know where they are going. They know what they are doing. They know who is causing the afflicting the pain they are facing. They know what needs to be done. And I'm sure as they do that, many of them are already engaging in systems that will protect our votes. Some are engaging in systems that they will be able to persuade their parents to vote for change, to vote for modernization of our institutions, building of our institutions. Many of them are thinking of taking identification cards in good time. Many of them are thinking of ensuring that on the day of voting, they will encourage their parents either to stay home or go vote and vote for change. This is what I strongly believe the future of this country lies in their effort, in their focus, and in their capacity to transform Kenya from what it is to a better Kenya of tomorrow.
Aluta continua is a message to them?
Yes, Aluta continua, and we are at the right time of history. It is a defining moment, and the change is next day. It is not too far. They should keep trying and trying and trying. At times, you may try and you think you have lost, and that's the moment of change, and that is the moment of happiness. I strongly believe the future of Kenya is brighter without Kasongo.
The future of Kenya is brighter without Kasongo.
Yep.
Waziri, you are a father, you are a grandfather. Families have lost their children to the Gen Z protest on Wednesday and even before Wednesday. Communities have lost the youth that they were looking forward to their full blossom. The church, you name it. What is your message to those parents who've lost their children, to those friends who can no longer have that person to offer them the shoulder to lean on, all because they have transcended to the other heaven? What's your message to those families?
My message is twofold. First of all is to condole with them, and we cannot sympathize enough and give them back the loved ones that they lost. Even when we talk of reparation or compensation, it is not enough, because one child lost is one too many. The second issue is for this regime to realize that the children that we've lost are children like your own children. Remember, their parents love them, whether they are poor or rich, they love their own children. When they see them playing in the morning, having some hope that the future is better, your child is not more precious than the children you have killed. Stop killing these children. Allow them to see the future of Kenya without you, because that is the future that is going to give them a better life to lead, and also dignity. Let Kenyans feel dignified in their own country. Don't do what the Mzungu did to us, killing people, hanging them, using them at the Norfolk. As some ordinary Kenyans, black Kenyans, were passing, the Mzungus at that restaurant were shooting them as a way of checking whether their guns were doing well. That is the life of Kenya before independence.
Here at the Norfolk?
At the Norfolk. That restaurant,
opposite
Dalamere, I think they call it Dalamere restaurant, opposite KBC, opposite University of Nairobi. Any black African passing there, he was accused that he is loitering without intent. And they were calling them vagabonds because they check he has no money. So why did you come to town? You have nothing to buy. You have nothing to sell. So you are taking us back to that situation that you are saying, yes, you are independent, but now we are the boys in town. We have the power. We won fairly and squarely. Winning an election is not the ultimate goal of any leader. It is the beginning of a process of transforming your country and respecting your people. those who voted for you, or those who did not vote for you, all of them, they ought to have space in this country. That is the message I want to give to the regime of the day, that one day you'll also be watching news on TV without the ability to change anything. How will you feel if your child is killed that particular day?
Children should bury their parents, not the other way around.
Yeah, it's very, very painful to bury your grandchild or your own child.
You wake up to a graveside
every morning, and it reminds you it is the government that killed my child because my child wanted the right thing to be done.
And you thought 2 million was enough closure?
No, it's not enough. Even $1 billion. What is $1 billion when I have no child? There is no value of money. Money is relative. You can enjoy even 100 shillings in peace. But if you give me $1 million in turmoil, that's not enough. Yeah.
So today, if great minds like Martin Shikuku, we're talking about Dedan Kimathi, Field Marshal Muthoni wa Kirima, and a few other revolutionary minds who fought for change, what we even wake up for a day and look back at the Kenya they bequeathed us, what do you think would be their first impression, their first reaction?
Well, they will say this is childish, this is criminal, and this is beyond, beneath the dignity of any right-thinking Kenyan. Yeah.
Well, there you have it. Thank you so much, Waziri, for welcoming us to this beautiful home of yours.
Asante.
And thank you so much for your insights and good nuggets of wisdom for our public.
It's always my pleasure, and this is your home. Yeah.
We're welcome any day, anytime.
Any day, anytime, as long as you tell me in good time.
Tukitupiwa tear gas along Karen, we just run to this place.
But don't run directly. Go.
There you have it. Until we get to do this again next week, Tuesday, with Waziri Honorable Kipruto Arap Kirua. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing.